Call this meeting to order at 18:30 hours. Recognition of the public. We have Ian here for the filming, Walt and Marianne here for doggy business, and Mike is here for the reformer. And that would be approval of the minutes of the last meeting. You made some changes?
Yeah, so I'll approve the minutes as amended. I mean amended, actually no, I'm just going to approve the minutes because they would only have been amended if we'd done it during the meetings, yeah.
I second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All approved? Right. Annie isn't here from Human Services. Third quarter EMD checklist approved.
I'm going to drop them off, so I figured we'll just have you sign them during the meeting. They're his quarterly checklist for his emergency management duties and the equipment check. I've had you sign before, but...
Do we need to all sign?
No.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to have the chair sign the EMD checklist,
I second.
signaling our approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
You move forward,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I can hold it if you like. Thank you.
And,
Hang on there.
oh, I got another to sign.
No, that's VEM signature. You're good. Nothing for you on that one.
Southern Vermont Post-Irene Recovery Project, grant through U.S. Economic Development Administration. Well, these are the two folks that were appointed to come around, Anthony Summers and Wendy Ray Woods, to come around and relook at Irene damage, basically, I guess.
No.
And see what...
No damage stuff.
Preventative stuff?
It actually
basically
has nothing to do with damage
no,
at all. It's about economic development recovery.
recovery.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So, and really, it's about, I think it's more about economic development than it is really. It's assisting towns that were damaged in Irene so that they get these resources made available to them to help them with economic development. So,
Is there any hand-holding between this organization and the SEVEDS that, because
there's crossover because BDCC is involved.
okay,
And
so they know what
is-
the right hand knows what the left hand's doing.
I hope so. It's their organization and it's being kind of filtered through.
Okay.
So actually, Anthony Summers has already, I emailed him and he emailed me back, so I'm going to learn more.
Right, you're setting up a time to get together and
Gonna try to.
and I'm going to try and be there.
Yep.
Right, got it, okay.
Who would like to participate?
He would, I would, yes.
Yep.
Don't do it this week.
Okay. That's fine. I just wanted, you had asked me to put it in there. And I was going to, anyway, I don't have a firm time yet, but I will report in progress.
Well, I saw a blurb about it on the email and I didn't
Yes.
bother to follow up on it.
Oh, okay. I thought you might have talked about it at a meeting at Wyndham Regional
No,
Commission.
no.
Okay.
No, I haven't been making a within reason.
Sugar?
Yeah, but yeah, that and senior moments. Guilford Free Library exterior painting.
Okay.
Is that something they proposed or?
No, this was talked about last year, and we budgeted for it. And they had gotten two estimates that they voted on at their last meeting, but when I spoke more with Kathy about the two estimates, it became pretty clear after looking at them that they weren't an apple to an apple. And that was the price difference, mainly. She's gathering more information based on questions that I had asked her to follow up on.
So that they can possibly rescind and change their vote if they want to, because it
I
seemed
hope
like
so.
one was far more comprehensive than the other. They
Yeah.
would have the job half done for less money, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
So these were the two quotes. One is from Hawk and Brush, who I know the Grange is used, the store is used.
Yes, and Paul Gardner.
Yep, now we're familiar with. This was from Raymond Blow from Dummerston, East Dummerston. So in just taking the two quotes, they're for much different services. And one of the concerns that I had for Kathy is there's got to be lead paint
I was gonna say,
involved. So if, when it takes place, both of their approaches for handling the lead and how we should handle the lead, considering kids are going to be
Well,
coming in and
considering the
out.
law regardless.
Yeah.
Regarding the law, they have to be lead certified and everything like that, and it's gotta be tarped so many feet out and everything.
Sure.
And I mean, actually, what they can actually do is if they want to test and see if there is lead, they can go down to like Brown and Roberts and get those lead-free tests.
But if they're aware when the building was painted, because if it was painted since 1978, it should be lead-free, although there was a transition time.
Yeah, there was.
And they're, I would imagine as professional painters, they'd both be qualified.
I would think
I
so.
don't think that you would be a professional painter of exteriors without having lead
Yeah, I
certification
think
and
you're
knowing what to
required
do.
to. Even
But my
contractors are
concern,
required to at this point.
mostly with it, my concern was scheduling. If one was going to be able to say, yeah, I'm going to have it done in this time frame, where the other one would say, well, I'm going to work on it all summer and it's a smaller job, so I'll get to it here and there, then that really changes the usability of the library for
Absolutely.
summer.
So I'm glad to hear they're gathering more information.
So,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
she will gather more information, and what I had asked of her, and what I was hoping that we could do is have them start it in this fiscal year, so that if it ends up being more than what was anticipated, it won't go over budget.
Right.
So if we could get some of it funded in this year's budget, which we have money for.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. If that's
We have additional money, yeah, and kind of cushion the blow if it goes over what the budget amount is, or if we have an unexpected item that crops up after July 1, we won't be as killed on it. So I just wanted to report in on that.
Thank you.
You have to head. You only head?
I'll wait a few more.
Okay.
See if she shows up.
2013 Wyndham Solid Waste Management Division Board of Supervisors.
Oh, we're buzzing around.
Sacrificial years.
Oh, the reason why I don't have the email printed is because of those surveys being copied. This has been the biggest drag all day. I'll report in on that after.
Okay.
But I can find her email and just read it aloud from my email account.
Okay, that'd be good.
Yep, sorry.
Her being Betty.
Betty. We've been doing work for the Planning Commission survey today, and our photocopy machine is really slow, and when it's a double-sided copy, it's even slower. So we have 1,000 double-sided copies to make, and I've been working on them like for the last 3 hours. So whenever we want to
become
copy,
more cost-effective to take stuff like that to Lotus.
probably never, because we have a
Staples?
contract. The only thing is it really costs us time and aggravation, because our toner is part of our contract
Yeah,
amount.
okay.
It's the cost of paper and our stress levels of dealing with copy machines. So, yeah, it's kind of a bummer, but oh well.
So this is sort of kicked down for a little while later. You said somebody was coming. Yes.
Shall I wait? Or how about
Yeah.
I'll just read it aloud, you can
Okay.
ruminate, and then we'll go. A letter from Betty Fry following up on that email that I had sent about her conversation. I did indeed have that conversation with Troy in the Price Chopper. I did indicate that I would like to have a conversation off camera about the future of Wyndham Solid Waste Management District and its relationship to Guilford. Big changes appear to be coming, and I want to make sure we are aware of them. How would this be possible? Please inform. Thank you in advance. So I had emailed you guys. I had gotten a couple of responses, but just wanted clarification.
So should we table that and then come back to it?
We can table
Yes,
that.
let's table
Okay.
it.
Let's start over with that when we get back to it
Okay.
and sort of set that stage a little more, because you referenced the conversation with Troy, but we don't know.
Come right up front, you're on.
All right, sorry about that. I thought you were closer to town. Really?
Parts of Guilford are, but
I
parts
turned
are
on my
not.
back and then I turned on my phone. I got for the iPhone, right?
You know those two folks right there, do you?
Yeah.
Walter, I've talked to you on the
Yeah.
phone quite a bit.
Thanks, yeah.
Marianne.
Yes, ma'am, yes.
Our man, Ryder.
Hi,
Nice to meet you.
And I'm Troy Reeves.
Kate and Kate Buckley.
Nice to meet you.
Guys? So,
We want to talk about understanding better the potential contract with Wyndham,
Yes.
the Humane Society.
Do you have specific questions, or do you want me to give an overview, or?
Well, I'll start with saying that when I heard that you weren't getting any money from us, and for a couple of years you had felt bad because we hadn't been giving you any money, I took that as yes, because you do help us out, you should have some money. And I was hoping we could do that on a lump sum payment,
Yeah.
to say, rather than going to actually being a dog pound per se, just taking some of the strays, like the cat they got left at Mary Ann's
Right.
and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
however, it's grown into a actual contract as being a dog pound, right?
Right. Well,
Yeah, and I'd like to hear, I would not be opposed to that. I'd love to hear the pros and cons from, I'm glad to have the three of you here together to talk about this.
yeah, I'll give a brief overview. I started at the Humane Society in '08, and a lot of the contracts had fallen by the wayside. So we've been rebuilding that, and in that process, we're kind of revisiting and figuring out the best way to make this work. So we have contracts with about half the towns in the county. Most of them are per animal fee basis. Brattleboro is a flat fee, and we went to that with them maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And Bellows Falls, for the first time in a long time, is looking at a contract and requesting a flat fee. So by state statute, towns have to either have a pound or contract with somebody to hold strays. And also by state statute, strays need to be held for 5 days. And in that time, they can be claimed. And if they're not claimed, they become ours, and we put them up for adoption if they're adoptable. And so the way it works with the towns is, in that 5-day hold, if the owner comes and claims it, they pay any boarding fees, and they can pay an impoundment fee, which then we give back to the town. And that's supposed to, go into your animal budget and pay your ACO to traipse the animal up there and go out at midnight or whatever. And then if the animal's not claimed, we ask the town to cover those 5 days of boarding, because in that time, it's really the town's responsibility to make sure that stray is cared for. Now, it's a long-standing tradition in Vermont that the animal control officer keeps the cat in his basement or the backyard and feeds him and maybe advertises him. What we offer with the contract is really good services for the animal. We're going to advertise them right away in the paper, on our Facebook page, and on our Lost and Found blog. And that's the best outcome. You guys get your $25 or whatever you want to charge, actually. You can set the impoundment fee. 25 has been what most towns are doing these days.
And then if we set but we have to pay you back a certain amount.
And then you would pay the the 5-day boarding fee, which if I was charging on a per animal basis, turns out to be $60 for a cat and $75 for a dog.
Per day?
No, total.
Thank you.
The 5-day fee, yeah. That's $15 a day for dogs. If you had to use a vet, it'd be $28, $32 a day. Plus, our whole goal is to get animals out of the shelter as quickly as possible. So all the studies say, as soon as the animal gets in, you examine them, you give them a broad-based wormer, you give them their distemper shot, you check for a microchip. We do all these things, which is so much better for the animal, and ideally we find the owner quickly, or they're ready to go for adoption after the 5-day hold is over. And I'll say one more thing, and then I'll shut up and answer questions. The other beauty of the contract, it includes cats. Now, traditionally, towns think only of dogs, but the reality is cats are the bigger problem, because they can live in the wild, and they can form colonies, and they can breed. And while you can ignore that problem successfully for a long time, the beauty of this is it gets them off the street, gets them spayed and neutered, gets them in a new home.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, my questions would be, a lot of kind-hearted people stop and pick up dogs.
Yes.
And they might belong to the neighbor, but they still pick them up and take them to the dog pound.
Yes.
In most cases, if we had our own panel at Marianne or Walt, either one would know where that dog came from,
Yeah,
and therefore that fee would be not there.
right,
You can call them up and say, come get your dog.
right.
That's on the dog part of it. On the cats, we don't have an animal control officer, we have a dog officer.
Yes.
So cats basically are not under our umbrella at all.
Right.
But the same thing happens, they pick them up and take them to Marianne, like this one 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a shift I'm encouraging towns to take for those exact reasons, that cats will live easily in the wild and dogs won't. It's kind of backwards in my mind. Most dogs are going to get claimed if cats are not.
Yeah. Oh.
Do you have any insight into this, the idea? Do you have any thoughts, positive or negative, about entering the contract? And are you offering a flat contract or a per animal fee-based
We
contract?
can go either way.
Because it sounds like with Bellows Falls and Brattleboro, those are bigger towns, so I didn't know if that
Yeah.
made more sense or...
Well, it's a little harder to figure the flat fee. I've been playing around with formulas, and basically I've come up with basing it on a resident of the town population.
Okay.
Because really, otherwise, there's nothing to pin it to. And that would end up costing sometimes a little bit less than what they've been paying, and sometimes a little bit more. But from my perspective, we're always there. We're always open. We got the lights on. We're heating the building. We got staff on. And so I'm hoping towns will see, it's in our best interest to work together in the county, keep this place open. So we have some, plus I'm offering low-cost spay-neuter to residents. We're offering pet care assistance to people that are struggling to pay vet bills and get rabies shots, and encouraging licensing. So all these things help towns deal with the animal problem.
Are there grants available for feral cats?
Yes, and actually we do ferals for free. We'll spay and neuter ferals for free. Wherever they come from has to agree to take them back.
That's what you were telling us about, right?
Yeah, I wasn't doubting you, I just wanted her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's completely separate from the contract. We won't take ferals in. It's a miserable life for a feral in a cage. Occasionally we'll take in kittens because if we can socialize them, if they're 8 weeks or thereabouts or less. But adult cats, really the solutions are to trap them and euthanize them, which doesn't actually work as well as it sounds, because it tends to just open the space and more cats move in, and half the town is going to hate it and be mad about it. So really the trend in animal welfare is to trap those animals, spay and neuter them, vaccinate them, put them back out in their environment, and if you keep up with that, their colonies will shrink over time.
Thoughts?
I'm still here.
We'd like to hear any input you guys have, if you have any ideas to help us make this decision.
I think what Annie has to say and what the Humane Society is offering up lately, because I've heard about the assistance program, I think that's wonderful. I think my biggest, and I've only been doing this a year, and I've only gotten, 3 dogs, 2 of which were owned, the other one is now.
By who?
And then I think accountability is where I think is the biggest issue. And if it's somebody from the town, this is going to sound really bad, but if it's your neighbor, then you might get a better deal if your dog is running and it's your neighbor, and they'll bring it back and put it in the house. Where if it ends up being taken to the Humane Society, then the owner has to become a little bit more accountable for the fact that the dog is running loose and either is going to get hit or is going to bite somebody or, God forbid, kill another animal. And that's where I see the biggest thing is, in my eyes, it's become more and more of a, it's okay, it's just so-and-so's dog. Right. Well, it's not okay because it's my mom or my child that's out on the road, or it's my mom or my child that kills that dog on the road, and and it just, the accountability has to be there. And I think dealing with the Humane Society, you guys can kind of nail it down a little bit further.
I mean, we won't release the animal without proof of ownership, which means the dog needs to be licensed. We bend that rule on occasion because if we, it's not a, it's a good place, but it's always hard for animals to be in the shelter. So sometimes we'll expedite that. Usually it means talking to your ACO and saying, you need to follow up with this person on licensing, but we know they own this dog. And, but I wanted to say, again, if owners claim them, then it's just money in your pocket. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
It helps support the program. And I think it's really important to, I like what you're saying about accountability, but I work with a lot of ACOs, and heck, if you know the dog owner, take the dog straight there. There's no need to drag him into town and pay the fee. I don't know if you have ordinances where you
Our
can...
ordinance is a little fighting this because
Yeah.
if Joe Blow's driving down Weatherhead Hollow Road and he sees a dog sitting on the side of the road and he picks it up, takes it into there, and Joe Snuppy's got to go get his dog out, there's no leash law in the town of Guilford.
Yes.
Well,
No, there is not, according to
dog
our...
at large.
Yeah, it
It's
has
not
to
a
be under
leash
voice
law.
command.
So it's got to be under the command of the owner.
Yeah.
It's dog at large, and it specifies what the criteria is. It's not specifically a leash, which you're correct.
Yeah.
But it has to be under the control of the owner. If the owner's not there and the dog is out in the road, that's a dog at large. That's how it defines it.
I've even run into a dog that was with its owner and was not in any way under voice
Exactly.
command
Yeah.
of the owner. And, and the dog was jumping up and being very aggressive, and the owner couldn't stop it. So
Yeah.
there are
Yes.
gray areas there, but I mean, the things I like about this is it supports the Humane Society. It creates accountability, as you were saying, Marianne. It creates a structure, and most people are going to. That's going to be their default mechanism anyway. They're going to think about that.
Yes.
And if it became known to the town that this is how to do it. My only concern, I think this would be yours too, Dick, is that we wouldn't want people to do it too casually without making any effort
Right.
to find out who that dog belongs to.
Yeah.
I mean, in some cases, if a dog's scary or aggressive, you're not going to say, hey, whose dog is this? You're going to try.
Check your tag.
Yeah. So, Walter, did you have concerns though? I know you have to go.
I like it having Mary Ann as the dog pound because she's local. I can call her up. She's there. I can drive down. It's quick, easy.
Yeah.
And she may even know the dog
Right.
if you go down there. So there's good things about Mary Ann having it there. It's right local. And I guess there's good things with the Humane Society too. So
Is there any way where we can have sort of a mechanism where there's almost like a tiered approach that they can go to Marianne? And I don't know if Marianne, I think because you know dogs especially well, are you in a position to make a judgment and say, I think this dog needs to go to the Humane Society? I don't know what your criteria would be, but
I think you've done that already. Of course, she now has the dog.
She got it back. Well, if you went on a contract basis and a fee per animal basis, you could just make those judgment calls. First step is it goes to Marianne, and then she says, I
Or if
have
Mary
no
Ann's not
idea.
available,
Right.
then we could
Yeah,
take it to
right.
the Humane Society.
Yeah.
I mean, that might make sense at this point.
Yeah,
If we have that as a first line of defense would be to get the dog there. But if you're not available, or your judgment says this dog should be at the Humane Society, it's ill, it needs shots, it needs whatever.
Right.
What was it last week, Walt, that I called you? This person called me, they had 2 dogs in there. And I called Walt, and he came down and said, I know where those dogs go.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
I don't think we would
I
stop
loaded them up
that.
in
So-
the car and I took them home.
that's always the better outcome in my mind.
Can I just ask a question? How do you feel about holding dogs? Would you prefer not to do that? Like, could you be the conduit to either getting the dog back to its owner or getting it to the Humane Society? That way you wouldn't have to house them.
Sure.
Like, what do you feel about that?
Sometimes space is a problem because of my business. And that's the way it was with the Chessie.
Right.
But I was able to work that out, and I'm hoping in the future that won't be a problem either. So that's not a big deal either way.
I'm just thinking if it were a barker, or do you know what I mean? If it was tough for you to, if this would make,
That's it, yeah.
Yeah,
know?
and that's the thing, and that would be a reason. And for instance, that cat was really sickly, and I had two cats. I don't groom a lot of cats, but it just happens within the next 24 hours I had two coming in,
Yeah.
and that's when you just kind of go, oh, I don't really want this right
This
here.
cat is fine,
But you know, in the future, hopefully that won't be an issue, and I can designate a space for that. You know, anytime that might happen. I mean, all else fails, being in that sugar house is better than being out on a rainy, yucky day. You know, it might not be at my house, but I would have control
What's the
over
fee
it.
per animal? If we went on the fee per animal basis, what would the fee be?
So it's $12
$12, okay, yeah,
a cat
okay, thank you.
per day, and $12 $15 for dogs per day. And that includes all the stuff that we do.
You had, what, 3 animals in a year, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Thank you very much.
put your blues on and go.
Oh, yeah, I'm kind of,
I have a little bit of paper from all over the place.
well, I'm kind of stuck between, I'm trying to get towns to go to flat fees, so I had raised the per day fee for dogs to 17, but it's really hard to track because the contract renewal dates are all over the map. So for now, I'm sticking with last year's rates, which are actually 15 per dog and 12.
Well, I think, we may eventually go to a flat rate, but I think I would much rather get a feel for what we need of the services and get a feel for how it would work with Mary Ann being the line of first defense. I think Walt raises a good point. That kind of keeps it local from your...
Yeah, and if I had a dog,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
if I had a dog and it went down the road, down my driveway, and somebody could actually stop in my driveway and pick it up,
Yeah.
and take it to you, and I would, first thing I'd want to know would be who picked the dog up.
Right.
Not, yeah.
They can still do that now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a fair amount of people in town who don't even know that we have a town pound or what a town pound is.
But they should go to Mary Ann, that's one of the good purposes.
Well, we
of
should,
keeping
and we should
Mary Ann.
publicize that
Yeah.
too, because, I think of Maggie when she called and wasn't sure what to do, so we need people,
Yeah, I've had 2 dogs come up and lay on my deck before, and I just looked at the tags. I called Penny here.
Right.
at the
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, we do. We get calls
And
more
there's somebody
often than
over on
not. We
Butternut
get a
Hill
call.
Road.
Right.
Or you get a call, you got a call before you were even the town pound. People would call you because you're the dog whisperer. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll call Mary Ann, she'll know who it is.
Yeah.
She's either touched it or knows who it is.
Yeah. And, to me, that's fine. Anything that keeps animals out of the shelter is good in our book. So, and the other thing is if you can hold an animal for 5 days, but you do have to advertise it by law. So if you could say to me, I've had this animal 5 days and I've advertised it, then you can bring it right to us and it's ours at that point. You would just sign it over to us and then we'll...
Well, I just wish people would get their dogs microchipped and put their damn tags on.
But I do
That
think,
settles everything.
I think that having this as an interim arrangement makes good sense. I mean, not interim, but as I said,
Yeah,
the
stepping
first
up,
line of
yeah.
defense, and I'd like to formalize our relationship with Humane Society.
Can I ask 2 questions? The cat piece. You were talking about feral cats that you spay, neuter, vaccinate, and return. If we had a contract with you, would you, if we don't know whose they are and I don't want it back, would you take the cats or no?
Well, if they're feral, no.
Okay,
Because when you get a feral cat into a shelter and you put it in a cage, it's
sure,
basically torture.
sure.
And we can't adopt it out, obviously, so we're stuck
Okay.
euthanizing it.
Okay.
So the best outcome for them is to go back to their colony. Now, if you get a homeowner who says, I got ferals all over my property and I don't want them, I don't know what you do with that because the law is not clear about that. They can claim they were all dropped. You don't know if they had let some
Right.
cats out and they bred like crazy. It gets very tricky there.
No, you can't take your cat.
Oh, I'm not giving her back. Are you kidding me? She's fat and happy now.
Can I ask a question? I'd like to make a motion first, which is that we enter into, and thank you for keeping the fee the same, we appreciate that.
Yeah, sure.
Enter into a per animal fee basis agreement with the Wyndham County Humane Society, using Mary Ann as kind of the first, keep maintaining you as a dog pound, and but also have that arrangement.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Why is it that you are not on our, why do you not come to the town as part of the Human
That was
Services?
my second
The
question.
appropriation.
I didn't get to. I didn't get to.
That was what was
Before
brought
you
to my
made-
attention.
I was going to say, can we
Yes.
that-
Can you
add?
give us my, yes. No, the question, most towns require a petition, correct?
Dude, we have a petitioning process, but you guys have discretion to add.
We have the discretion to add, but also you only need to sign a petition for, if we don't have to use that discretion, for X number of years.
3 years.
And all of these organizations, and you guys were on this list for a while.
I
you
know, well, so you probably all know that there were some bad years.
Yeah.
So when I started, I just picked up with the appropriations that were in place and didn't require a petition because I just didn't have the manpower to do a petition.
If you simply shoot us an email in the fall and ask, then the select board has the discretion
Okay, great.
of putting any article on.
Actually, do you mind it being on letterhead and coming real snail mail?
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
And just to formalize it a
Yes.
little bit?
Yeah, that's fine.
That would be
Yeah.
great.
I can do that.
Now, would that be in addition to? I mean, let's
Oh,
put it-
yeah,
let's put that out.
absolutely, I don't think that takes the
So-
place
so-
of the.
So be there yearly asking for a donation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's not a quid pro quo
Yeah.
so much as just I'm just surprised because there are so many different human service and
Right.
animal service organizations.
Yeah, it was
We
one
just-
that
yeah.
got dropped, and
Yeah.
I've had to do, Vernon has done it for years, and then this year we had to do a petition.
Huh.
They're making everybody petition every year now.
And that's pretty becoming more and more common.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Mhm. It is.
Which
In
I
in
understand,
lean
but man,
times.
is that,
Well, as you look down that list of human services, there's got to be quite a lot of overlap.
Well, and we've had a few that got bumped way up, and then they just kind of stay at a relatively
Yeah.
unequal level to the
Yeah.
other ones.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad idea, but if you're talking about a petition with X number of signatures,
Yeah.
A fair number of towns are starting to look,
yeah,
if not having a conversation going in that direction.
yeah.
okay. Well, at any rate, I think it would be great if you did send us some kind of, or at least get in touch.
I'm going to say we still would have that option. I'm going to say with the signatures, we wouldn't have that option, but we still
Yeah.
do trivial petitions. We
Sure,
don't,
yeah.
but-
And where it was an organization that received funding in the past, I think that it just
Yes.
adds credibility to.
Well, and you know, the reality is the fees don't cover our costs,
Of
but
course not,
they
yeah.
certainly help.
Yeah.
I do want to clarify, I don't know how carefully everybody read it, so we don't do rabies holds, so if a dog has bitten somebody, that dog needs to go to a vet clinic in the town.
I see. Okay, good to
Can
know.
either pay, the owner should pay those fees, but if it's an unknown dog, the town holds that, that's a 10-day quarantine for
Okay.
dog bites. And we don't hold aggressive dog now. That's a relatively subjective term, but if you're feeling like you're going to get bitten, we can't have that dog. We have volunteers in and out of our kennel, and we have the public and kids, and so that's all in there. Aggressive dogs also need to go to a vet clinic. And this legal impoundment part can be very confusing, so I'll say a little bit about that. If you were to seize animals because of cruelty or neglect, that's a different ball of wax.
Yes.
So in that case, you pay us to hold the animals unless Mary Ann's going to hold them. And that it's supposed to get resolved within 7 days, like ownership and whether we're keeping the animals or not. It can get very hairy. And the reason we put this in here is we strongly encourage towns not to seize animals unless there's danger of imminent death, i.e. the next 3 or 4 hours. Because what happens if you guys seize them, then it's got to go to court. It can take a year.
Oh, man.
We can be holding those animals at $15 a day, and we don't own them. We can't put them up for adoption.
They take up space.
Yeah, it gets
Resources,
very,
yep.
very messy. So that's a training issue for ACOs, and if you go to any of the trainings, they'll say, yeah, don't be seizing animals unless you have a rock solid case and the animals are
In threat
on
of dying.
death's door.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you want to work with the owner. You can threaten to issue tickets if they don't surrender. We're trying to get surrender or fixing of the problem.
Walt and I went to a animal something in White River,
Yeah.
and it was a very
Yes. Yeah, we hope.
interesting and knowledgeable
Yeah.
meeting we went to, and I think one of the reps is in Halifax.
Yeah, Joanne Borbo, she works for inside the United States, yeah. So somebody sees some horses in the Northeast Kingdom, and those horses were dangerously skinny, but a year later, that Humane Society is still caring for them.
Yeah.
And it's costing them thousands.
We know how the court system works.
So that's what that piece is about, so
Okay.
read that carefully and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you for coming
Yes, I
on.
think,
Yeah.
I think we've cleared things up. so
Yeah.
that Mary Ann knows what she's.
Feels good.
and We kind of know what we're doing.
So next time you got a rambunctious barking dog that's not aggressive, if you need to get him to us sooner than
Yeah.
the 5 days, then that's
Well, he came to me Sunday night. Monday morning, I took him over and had him scanned for microchip.
Yeah.
At Brat Vet. He
Oh,
was
okay.
on Facebook. I called all the vets.
Yeah.
I put him on y'all's thing.
yeah.
Facebook, everywhere. I had a lot of people wanting him,
Yes.
but not claiming him. But I truly think he was dumped.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. And
Yeah.
then I was able to get Chesapeake Bay Retriever to come down, and
Oh, that's great.
the rescue group came down and picked him
Yeah.
up.
And you can always call us too and say, a reputable lab rescue or whatever. And then might be able to get you a scanner, just so you.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
What could be the possible? Because that's huge. Because I noticed that Brat's having a rabies clinic and a microchip clinic. So you can actually get them.
Yeah.
Anybody can get them microchipped anywhere. So I think that's
Do you
huge.
put the microchips in?
Yeah.
You do now.
Every
Yeah.
animal
Yeah,
that
yeah.
leaves our building is
Yeah.
microchipped, and that's been true
Yeah,
since
They're cheaper than a vet too.
Yeah, well, he got microchipped and neutered while he was
Yeah.
at the rescue group, and
Yeah.
it's standard.
It's
Boom,
what they're
it's
doing
done.
now.
Huge.
Yeah.
So we are engaging in a contract, we aren't
Yes.
engaging? Okay, I didn't know if it was by,
We're doing it per animal.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I didn't know if we needed to
Okay.
sign for that or if that was regular
Yeah.
services that we just paid.
So you're gonna have to redo that.
Oh, I don't know. Do we,
We still would sign
A contract.
in a fee per
Yeah.
animal contract.
Yes, and I think this one is the fee for the per animal.
I'm not sure which one.
Which
No,
is-
I think you sent us two originally anyway. One was a lump sum and
This
one was
is
per
my
animal.
original, blah, 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 blah. Where do I even say?
And the question was, we were
How
greatly
about we
confused.
Is there any chance you could email me the latest and greatest
Yes,
per animal, and then that way I don't
I
have to
totally can.
cross my eyes with that?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion that we get our chair to sign on behalf of the board.
Why don't you
So,
Second.
because we can't do it tonight.
Right, okay, so I will email you this and I will send a request for an
Aye.
appropriation in the fall and.
Thank you. Thanks for all your work with the Humane
Okay,
Society.
thank you.
You're welcome, yeah.
Steadying of the ship.
Yeah, we're doing well. We're
Good.
doing very well.
Good.
Things are good, so. All right, thanks, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Sorry again for being late.
It's okay.
I was speeding on.
Andy, can
I
I
didn't
just
think to
ask
tell you we were out in the
a question?
boondocks.
Yeah.
You said you were mentioning that there's a cost per capita assessment that you're.
Well,
Do you have
for
that
the
number?
towns that are asking me for fee for services, for a flat fee, yeah, I've settled on 50 cents a resident.
Okay, just
Which-
curious.
Yeah, and that probably would be a lot more than what you are gonna end up paying, especially if Marion's gonna, hold a bunch of them or get them home right away.
I don't like that.
Okay.
I know.
Very good.
I disagree with you, but I totally understand.
It has some good stuff, but,
If I get a chance, I'm going to.
All right, thanks again.
Thank you.
yeah.
Bye.
I have your email already, right? Or you're on the town website?
Do you want me to give it to you just
Yeah, that's fine.
in case?
Or even if you emailed it to Dick, he would Do you have just. a card,
Yeah.
Katie?
Me?
Yeah.
Not yet. We're working on that.
Just say, that's not, it should be it.
All of us. We're trying to get more professional in there.
Am I?
People, when I taught sixth grade, used to ask me if I had a card, and I'd say, what would I do? Then hand it out to fifth graders? Like, shove my glasses.
Multisyllabic words can be called, right?
Paragraphing, got it done. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Whoops.
You're my speed dial lady.
I'm
I
sure.
don't know how many times I went up there to catch up with you, but I never did. So.
Yes, I know. Well, we don't live in that.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
So when I'm solid waste, in fact.
Yes. Where were we?
I think we should start over a little bit, just to, I'm
It
gonna
was in
back up.
Price Chopper.
Katie read
Thank
the
you.
email.
Would you like me to read it again?
No, because I think what we need to say before that is the conversation in Price Chopper was that Betty had told Troy she wanted to resign.
She stated to me that she wanted to give me her resignation.
Right. And you-
And I stated to her that she needed to put that in writing to the board and come to the board to update us with what has been going on there
Right, okay.
before she resigns.
Yeah,
And she did state to me, well, I don't want to do that on camera. I said, well, unfortunately, that's how you're going to have to do it, essentially, because we're all on camera now. Hi,
Right.
Mom. So, you know, so
and then you're emailing that context.
And I hadn't received anything. Troy said, have you received anything from Betty? And I said, I haven't received anything yet. So I sent an email on his behalf following up saying, you know, you had this exchange in Price Chopper. I think I copied you guys on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
stating, you know, what's your intentions, blah, 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 blah. And then she emailed me back what I just read saying, I'd like to have a conversation.
Off camera.
Yeah.
And was she invited to tonight's meeting?
I had gotten a sense, I didn't do anything because I wasn't sure which direction to go in based on your input.
but we need to have someone in place by the 1st of April, according to Bob Spencer, correct?
Right.
According to that email?
Yeah, but
We don't have an alternate, do we?
Reed Cutting is the
We have
alternate
Reed.
for now. So, I wasn't sure what you wanted to do. If you wanted to go back and say, yes, you need to attend a board meeting and wait for a response, or if you wanted to jump the track and just say, you know what, we're gonna, feel free to send us whatever you'd like, talk to us in whatever way, and we're just gonna appoint somebody else to fill the void.
Yeah, I mean, my instinct is that actually we do need to get something in writing from her, but I'm not sure I agree that we need to have her come to a meeting for the purpose of resignation. For the purpose
Right.
of updating us, you're absolutely
Yeah,
right.
right, yeah.
But assuming that I'm not hearing anything that contradicts that she would like to resign. And she just wanted to do an update as well.
I believe so, according to her email and what she told me, that there was things coming down that she wanted to update the board, I believe is what it stated, correct?
She doesn't specifically say. I did indeed have the conversation with Troy and Price Chopper, but she doesn't say.
And
I
it is
did
19.
indicate that I would like to have a conversation about the future and its relationship, but she doesn't say anything
Right.
saying, I did say that I wanted to resign.
So does it make sense? I mean, I would like to get somebody in place. You know, our hesitation or our concern has been for quite a while that we, as she has stated, believe in the idea of turnover in board members just because it is good for the health of
An organization.
an organization. So she has been a representative for how many years? Are we aware?
Quite a few.
Many.
Very long time.
Yes.
And, you know, I think she has served the town well, and I believe that it would not be a bad thing to appoint a new person at this point. I'm just trying to figure out how to do this, you know, signature way.
I don't think we're under any obligation at all to reappoint someone that's been on a committee for ages. I mean, I think.
And we haven't reappointed, and we didn't reappoint her whenever we did last meeting.
It was tabled.
Right.
Table.
Table. I think we can just go ahead and appoint someone else. And-
Okay, and then we would hopefully get her to come and talk with us
Yeah.
regardless of if she's on or not, just to fill us in because we haven't heard from her
She
for quite a
may.
while.
Yeah.
So, just so I'm clear, do you want to give her the opportunity to resign first?
I think not.
Well worded.
I think,
Okay.
I
Or
think
just say
if
the
her term,
decision has
if her
been.
term expires, or if she
April
needs.
1st.
She's a yearly appointee.
Okay, then I guess I would like to make a motion then that we appoint another person that we would love to hear from Betty about this past year to have that update, but that we would go ahead and appoint another person at any rate.
I second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. In terms of who we appoint, you know, I don't know if we want to make an appointment now to be active as of April 1st, because we won't be meeting again in March, so it seems like it would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think you go ahead. I mean.
Well, I mean, we need to be sure that you have a person on deck that does indeed want to to do it and reach out to them first.
I think.
The board needs to reach out to them first.
Have you done some checking around, or?
I think what checking around I've got is, and what emails I've seen, that we could appoint.
But has anybody from the board had an actual conversation with the person yet?
Okay, then no.
Saying
then
we'd
we're
like
not.
to do that?
Sure.
I think it might be blindsiding, just to not
Okay.
do that first.
Okay, so I guess I
And it's
would,
only April 8th, it's 1 week into it, I don't think everything's gonna go in the hopper in 1 week.
okay, so at our next board meeting,
Yeah.
okay, fine.
Okay.
So we'll
We'll do some legwork.
put out some
Yeah.
feelers,
Yep.
and certainly when we had those meetings before Bob Spencer came on board, there's some people who came to light who seemed like they'd be interested in good
Absolutely.
candidates. So should we, I guess I'd like to just informally request that the board chair do some outreach.
Yeah, and after this, I had called Wyndham Solid Waste Management to follow up on if they had a requirement as to who the person, if it had to be a registered voter of Guilford, if they had to be a resident of Guilford, if they had to, I didn't know what the requirement was. We have a unique population in Guilford. We have a number of private haulers who automatically make good candidates. Some own property in Guilford, but don't live in Guilford. Some do own and are registered voters. We had a whole variety of people. So before we got too thick into it, I wanted to make sure
We do,
went-
don't we?
We do.
Okay, so
So-
hopefully we can
Melting
make an appointment at our next meeting.
And I'll just, so unless we have a requirement, which we
We don't.
don't,
We don't.
So we could let Bob Spencer know that we would probably appoint a new person April 8th. It's not like April
Yep.
1st, they're having a
yeah,
meeting or
and I can
anything.
email him indicating
Okay,
such.
that'd be
so.
great.
All right, very
Okay.
good.
Highway.
So I guess we would just to finish that up, we'll reiterate through email that we would like to get from Betty a written resignation, and that we would love it if she would come and debrief.
Yeah. Municipal access weight permit for Barrett Trucking and Derrick Excavating.
I'd like to make the motion that we issue the excess weight permit for Barrett Trucking Company and Dairy Excavation.
And can I add one more, even though it's not for Cardinal Logistics? 'Cause it
Cardinal
just-
Logistics?
It came, yeah,
Cargo?
Cardinal Logistics, yeah. It just came in.
Okay.
So I figured-
So Barrett Trucking, Cardinal Logistics, and Dairy Excavation to not tear up the roads, go over the try to go over the Green River Covered Bridge, so on and so forth.
I'll second that.
The usual restrictions.
Yep.
Yes.
All in favor?
All right.
And it's nice to have a freshly graded road, too.
Isn't it?
Speaking of the usual restrictions, how is our assessment of mud season going? Are we, I mean, it's really pretty soft, so I feel like we're kind of there, except we've got all this more snow to melt. But-
Well, they graded our road today, and I usually turn around because Katie and I both live on it.
Notice the road gets done first.
And
Chair.
It's not been
It's
done.
like a chair.
Neither has mine.
And they
Doesn't
weren't
pay
going
high,
down
but the
very
perks
deep,
are
and there's just
wonderful.
a frost, so there's still a lot of frost.
Oh, yeah, there is a lot
So
of
we've got more
frost.
Yeah.
Oh,
mud
yeah.
to come.
Yeah, so,
But-
yeah.
It's not as
The
bad
snowstorm
as-
helped.
It did.
Snowstorm
Big
Snow-
time.
Yeah,
down.
I asked Dan.
I'm not sure if it helped or just delayed it, but I
Well,
like to think it
something-
helped.
You
We'll
know,
find
the-
out this week.
Yeah,
The culvert out here, what they replaced, that's kind of smoothed out. There's not that,
yeah.
so.
Good.
When you hit it, it said,
Is there anything else for general update there?
I think that's all they're doing now, is trying to do this.
Grading.
The grading and keep up ahead of the Mother Nature and the mud. Yeah.
it's grading and gravel. They
Yes.
dumped some nice
Yeah,
gravel.
they did some good gravel.
Finance,
I would like to make the following motion that we pay payroll of $317.13 for $4,187.56. Payroll of $324.13 for $5,348.17, for a total of payroll of $9,535.73. Along with warrant number 17 for $32,847.27, for a total of payroll and warrants for $42,382.97.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
All right.
The warrant was 24 cents, not 27.
Yes, I'm sorry, Dick, thank you.
Oh, side notes, and why are we doing that?
I was just going to say, just to report to the board that Katie and I did meet and go over policies, ordinances, and kind of created a list of policies that we felt it would be pretty easy for us to update, that there was a good skeleton. There were a couple of them that seemed like they might involve, or really just one. I think the purchasing one was one that might involve more discussion. But, so we're in the process of trying to schedule. No, those we just need to do in a board meeting.
I'm going to circulate them on email for you all to read and chime in on if you want to. And then if you're all good with how they look, they could be passed in a board meeting.
But the work is going to be, once again, traffic and highway. And it seemed to us to make sense that doesn't make sense to roll that in with that ancient roads discussion.
No.
Two separate things.
No. And there's a
But-
highway foreman's meeting on April 10th.
Oh, so
talking
after
about
that.
2013's highway and bridge
Standards, and after that you and Katie and Dan and maybe us would sit down in a work session to see if we can hammer out and get the traffic, because other than traffic and highway, we are not in bad shape, right?
No. There's
We
a
still are
flood.
waiting.
Okay,
A
there's a
flood.
flood hazard bylaw that needs to be addressed, and I was thinking that maybe Peter and I could work on that. I know it doesn't really fall under bookkeeper, but
I would only be grateful. Also, I'm wondering, in light of signing a contract with Wyndham Humane Society, do we need to update our dog ordinance to reflect that?
I thought the ordinance needs to be updated anyway.
yeah.
Because they made some changes, in legislature last year about, I'm not totally positive about this, but where my dog killed your chickens, the town was responsible for, and I think that now gone, it's totally up to the dog owner to pay for that damage, not the town.
Good, 'cause we
So it
paid for
becomes a
some.
private property
It
matter.
becomes a private property matter, yeah, I think that town responsibility is
So
down
what
off
I'm
the
wondering
table.
is if we could have a subcommittee work on doing that update too, so
Yeah.
outside of board meeting.
Yeah.
Work on, maybe Mary Ann would be on it. Seriously, because, if she and, like you two or some two could just do those updates.
Mary Ann and I can handle it when we work that out.
Yeah, I mean, why not do those that kind of revisions in that format and then just bring it to a
Yeah.
board meeting?
Yeah, I'd have to get last year's legislative report out.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, Troy, do you like my motion that we appoint Mary Ann and Dick be a subcommittee to?
I like that motion.
Or your second?
I second.
Seems like a lot of stuff is flowing this way.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's good.
I don't know if I can capture that in a motion though, if it wasn't on the agenda.
Well, I think you probably can't, but that's all right.
That's
The
okay.
point
It's
is taken.
a spiritual.
It's a spiritual, the spirit, yeah, in the spirit of.
of.
Okay.
So are we up to communications?
Yes, I went off task.
Oh,
so-
one other,
That's okay. I was gonna go off task because you went off task and go off task portion of the meeting. And just do a quick little update on different things. There is a group of us from Guilford, including Al Franklin, who will be meeting with Deb Markowitz on Wednesday morning about Sweet Pond,
Great.
about
Excellent.
the dam.
Up there in Montpelier?
In Montpelier at the
Good.
State House. I'm also going to be swinging in to National Life and meeting with some state folks while I'm there on a whirlwind tour, mainly about the covered bridge. I sent an email around to everybody, to which Bill Jewell has responded already about the ancient roads unpacking that was talked about.
Oh, I didn't see his response.
Okay. Inviting, remember it was Jeff Nugent, Bill Jewell, you, us to all sit around and come up with a plan for 2014 so that we're not sitting there in December of 2014
Oh,
saying,
yes.
oh yeah, we got to do that.
yes.
And who's on first and who's going to do what. So I'm waiting to hear back on that.
From Jeff and,
From Jeff, from Bill did respond. So I'll keep you updated on that. I had a meeting with Laura Lawson-Tucker and John Gagnon at the Guilford Central School today about some of the feeling of loss with the middle school leaving, and some of the things that are deep-rooted in the community that the middle school really helped perpetuate, which could stay and talking about how to make the town, the school, and the community a more cohesive group so that people work together, so that the school becomes a more open facility for town and community resources and gatherings, and that our building becomes more utilized, and that we have a stronger school and a stronger community and a stronger town.
I think those unused rooms make good lawyers' offices.
Which at the school, that there's the historical society, there's the library, you know, these different organizations that are town, that are quasi-town, that are act all separately, but there's nothing that draws everybody
Do you
together.
know what a project that is?
No, but you know what? We did this in the 80s, and I was very much involved. There was this whole, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, community development effort, and there were classes offered at the school for adults, for seniors in the evenings. There was a big effort to integrate the school into the community. I think that this has been a sort of recurring theme in Guilford, and I think...
And there's a kind of a momentous occasion with this happening.
Sure.
It can't hurt to talk about it, and it can't hurt to try and bring... One of the things that we have coming up is our community visits program.
Right.
That this could flesh out of that.
Addie Minot might remember. She and I were involved. There were some other people involved in this community. Don McLean as well.
The amazing thing is when a town with one-room schools, and I'm not knocking school, but I mean when a town with one-room schools, the whole town was one town. And the schools worked together, the people in the schools worked together. And a different time. I mean, different time, a different social.
It was also more agricultural.
I get that, but I
And there
don't
was
think that needs to
activity.
be lost.
I agree.
I think that that
No,
can't-
it's going to be hard to get anywhere near back to where it was.
Well, as you were saying, because it was a very different.
But it might have a
community.
whole different face now, where maybe the way that we connect is through technology. So that we connect all of these different pieces, whether it's through a blog, if it's through a gazette with a website, whether it's...
But that's
it might not be connected.
That's one piece of connection, which is information sharing. The idea of community development is another kind of sharing, whether they're, you know, dances or spaghetti suppers or whatever there are. You know, the newspaper and a blog would be information sharing, but I think there are other ways of creating community.
And we have the Grange that tries to do that.
Yeah.
They only speak to a certain cross-section. There's, you know, parent groups that only speaks to a certain cross-section. So you're only capturing your own people. It's the same people going to the same things over and over. It's the same people where maybe it's crossing these groups together, so that school and library and Grange folks are putting on a dinner together, that all
And
of those
historical
volunteers.
society.
Right.
Sure.
So it's bringing them together and it gets them
because
out.
last year Laura Lawson Tucker was up there for the first, I think it was the first 3 weeks in July. They did the youth theater for the
She's going to be doing it again.
yeah, but she
Not
can't do
here.
it, not here this year
Yeah.
because of the abatement program.
Oh, right.
For the special needs kids, it was great. You know, I mean, they was
And they used the Grange?
no, they used the school.
Yeah.
But it's thinking about it in a different way of maybe we form a group where it's one person from each of those organizations comes together on a panel where, hey, the fire department's having sugar and snow. Okay, let's get all of our volunteers together. Okay, I can send 2 from the Grange. I can send a historical society person. I can send, and we get together.
So where are those how is those? Are
We don't know. We just had a first conversation
I'm going to
today.
add my 2 cents to this. A great start would be the 6th of July, rather than saying school's out and everybody's on vacation, the school will do something for the parade.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But
And that's a challenge to the school.
But it needs to get the face off that's
Yeah.
finger shaking, and we
Yeah.
need to say, come on, let's do it.
Well, yes.
We need a little hip hip hooray cheerleader.
But the parade committee
You
needs to
can
get
do
on
it.
that. Yeah.
You need to
yeah.
just
Which
With a
is-
smile.
sure,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
I will happily do that.
Yeah.
Happily do that. But it's
Isn't
really
Richard on the parade committee?
It looks like that.
I think he is.
I'm on the
You
parade,
need that
and I'm
motion?
happy to do that. I'm happy to do that. But it's about saying, no, you guys are
But I
going to
mean,
do
that's
it. You're
the
gonna do
general,
it.
that's the
Yeah.
general, oh, we can't do nothing because the school's out and everybody's
No,
gone.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. We're going to help you do it.
Yeah.
And it's that. It's not giving an opportunity to say no.
Yeah, fine, okay.
So,
Put it in my
yes, I think it can be done. I do. And we need to make it happen.
This little piggy was,
Yeah.
Or else. So,
where were we?
and then we got to the policy. You
Yes.
covered that. We have the planning commission, this needs to be
Yes.
informed as well. The planning commission is putting out a townwide survey
That's that big huge email.
tomorrow.
Yeah. I opened that up this morning. I'm going, what in the world?
Oh, I saw that yesterday, or this weekend at basketball, and I was like, uh-oh. It's a Monday and a select board Monday.
The planning commission has a new member, Sheila Morse. And
Who's awesome.
And she is awesome, to use that term. She is a ball of fire, and she is like a dog with a bone. We're going to get this done this week. We're going to get them out this week and get them back by the 15th of April. And along with that, we've added some 5 different awards or prizes or whatever to encourage people to
That's the way to do it.
fill them out and send them back.
That's great. That's great. Are they being sent out electronically? That's what you're copying.
Nope, the good old-fashioned mail. And it's also available
Survey
online.
Monkey?
The Survey Monkey. So there's different vehicles for gathering information.
And are you going to know who you're getting it from so that I don't do a paper one?
You know what?
It doesn't matter.
This is a planning commission question, and I'm not on the planning commission.
The answer that I gave was,
And while he's answering it, I'm going to go make more copies.
if
of
2
the survey.
people fill out one online and one filled out one snail mail, and they come up with different answers, so be it. If they want to be, included in the prize drawing, the name has to be on it.
And then, so the purpose of this survey is,
The town plan has to be renewed every 5 years.
Right, so
this-
2015.
And this is a preliminary askings of the town. What would you like us to do with the town plan to change it and make it more adaptable to?
well, I appreciate that you guys met, and I appreciate that a new member. How many members are on the planning commission now?
There's 6. We're still short 3.
Okay, but I'm glad Sheila joined. I saw her and she was talking to me about it, and she was excited. Yeah.
Yeah, Sandy Balls is on, but she's just to bring her young'un. I said, well, bring your young'un, I don't care.
Yeah. You'll
So-
entertain, I'm sure.
Yeah, so. And there was something else I had on my mind too, I can't remember what it was, but
Let's do communications, and I'll bet it'll pop up.
So look for that in your mail in the next week or so. Hang on, I just had to hit print. And our copy machine takes forever.
I hear it working.
it's still working.
We had some people doing searches today who were not happy. Wyndham County Sheriff's report for
Nothing on there.
February.
any
No,
money,
it seems
no.
pretty bare, actually. Although, did we have lockdown in February? At the school? Was that the month that lockdown took place? In February?
I think it was in January.
Was it?
Yeah,
Okay, never mind that. I don't know why it was light in February. Wastewater permit for Waldron and Wood LLC.
It's Clarence Coombs' old place on Franklin Road.
Okay.
The old farm.
Oh, okay.
And then a letter from Wyndham Regional Commission, which I don't know why I have this here, but I have to have you just sign. And just slap your John Hancock on there. Actually, you guys already made the appointments last meeting, so it's been moved. It's just the formality of the signature.
Kind
Kind of funny that you're signing that.
I was going to say, can he sign that?
Sure. And
I know the community visit program is going to happen in the fall. Do we have any sense of,
August.
in August? Okay, so we don't have any preliminary. We'll just wait to hear from them.
Yep.
Okay.
They're doing Manchester first.
Yeah, I mean, just want to have a sense of.
And there's a lot of great things, and I actually talked to John in pretty good length about it today. I said the school's participation in this process is going to be very important.
Yeah.
I said, so I'm telling you now so that when it comes, I said it's going to come in the summer. I said, we need you to come.
Yeah.
It's important. So he's signed on to it, and
Good. Good.
yep. No, it was a good meeting, so I was psyched. Okay.
I guess I'd like, we're at the should I make a motion to go into executive session?
Yes.
To discuss the Lister vacancy, and I think we will be taking action
Yeah.
after this executive session.
Yes. Would you like to invite your name to the executive
I think I
session?
Just come and stay with me.
We're out at 7:52.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion that, or do you want to make the motion?
You make the motion, let me the last one.
That we accept the lister's recommendation to appoint Dick Smith as a third member of the listers, and that we appoint him through town meeting of 2014, is that correct?
Yes, because he
At
has
which
to
point
run.
he would run for office for, yeah.
For the remainder of the one-year
Year
term
term.
until 2015.
Okay, thank you. So that we appoint him, we follow the lister's recommendation to appoint him until town meeting 2014.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So who would get in touch with him? Would that be, we would talk to Lisa or Dick?
I can follow up with Lisa to see who wants to.
Okay, sure.
Unless he's watching TV this week and then he'll know himself. But we can write letters to the folks who were.
I will say, I'm also really, really so grateful because I don't know if it was just from town meeting or people keeping their ears open. We had a good pool of candidates, and that's a tremendously
blessing that we don't
yeah.
often have.
Yeah.
It was great for them to come out, and they could come out now and
Yeah.
play the commission.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay,
I make the motion, we adjourn.
A second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.